Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm taking a look at one of the decks I've made, which really is just a silly little deck with no walkers. Um, this deck actually uses the Lich's Mastery mana base and game plan in that it's running the 4 Gift of Paradise and between 3 and 4 Revitalize to make sure that you survive early aggro decks, followed by 3 Settle the Wreckage and 2 Cleansing Nova to keep you alive in the board wipe necessities. And then you have Assassin's Trophies and a Singleton Vraska's Contempt. And then everything else that you do with the deck is all basically done by Planeswalkers, a whole lot of them. So instead of using Chance for Glory and Lich's Mastery as your win condition, and then running into the sideboard and grabbing out a Banefire or whatever you need at the time, I am running one copy of Mastermind's Acquisition, which does let me go into the sideboard, which is fetchable. The sideboard is meant to be fetchable for basically whatever you need, be it Golden Demise, Unmoored Ego, Vraska's Contempt. Some of these are just another copy of cards that are already in the deck in case they get Unmoored Ego'd out of the deck, or if you just simply run out of them. So you have things like another copy of Eldest Reborn, Elira. Oath of Teferi is kind of shenanigans if your opponent can't check your Planeswalkers. Another copy of Teferi, Star of Extinction, Pelika Worm in case you're running low on life and need a sudden burst of life to get back in the game. One of my absolute favorite cards to reach out of the sideboard, though, is Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. Because of the fact that it's a legendary sorcery, you have to have a legend on the table in order to cast it, which isn't very difficult if you already have Search for Azcanta resolved on the field or one of your Planeswalkers. So in either case, if you cast Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, you get to return every single Planeswalker that's been killed or thrown to the graveyard throughout the course of the game. So whether it's been destroyed or countered, as long as it's in your graveyard and not in exile, you can return every single walker at once. Most people, if you can actually manage to get to this point, will scoop the moment this resolves. There is one copy of Chemister's Insight in the deck for draw, but mostly we're going to be trying to fix ourselves with Discovery Dispersal. Discovery Dispersal usually gives us the added looks that we need, especially in the early game, to get the Gifts of Paradise resolved, because a Gift of Paradise resolved on one of your basics, of which there are a few, one in every color and 2 forests. The deck leans heavily in green. But if you get these Gift of Paradises resolved on time, typically around turn 3, getting your first one down, you're immediately able to start dropping your 5-drop Planeswalkers on turn 5 as long as you're not missing land drops. So that's Angrath, Teferi, Ral, and then you have your 4 drops, which I keep trying to cut Vraska, but every time I do, she reminds me that I shouldn't, whether she's destroying a disinformation campaign or she emblems, which is amazing. Karn is just another copy of card advantage that the deck doesn't otherwise have. We need to be constantly refilling our hands by either drawing cards with Teferi, with Karn, or with Ral. The rest of the walkers that we have don't do that. Angrath is negative advantage to your opponent, which is awesome. But a lot of the times with Resolve Vraska here, Little Vraska, she just sits there because you're not really going to be wanting to sacrifice any of your permanents because they're almost always going to be lands, and you want to have a lot of them. So, recent addition to the deck is Big Vraska. Big Vraska, I mean, she basically does everything you want her to do. She destroys creatures. She protects herself from Eldest Reborn by creating a pirate. The ultimate we don't really care about. More than anything, the fact that she just neg 3 destroys anything is phenomenal, and that's usually the reason we want to cast her. So other than that, mana base, it looks very, very similar to the Lich's Mastery build. 1 Drowned Catacomb, 2 Watery Graves, 1 each of Steam Vents and Sulphur Falls, 1 Dragon Skull Summit. We're just splashing in these colors, so we don't really want blue or red heavily. What we do want, though, is 4 copies of Overgrown Tomb, 2 Woodland Cemetery, a single Sacred Foundry, 2 Sun Petal, 2 Temple Garden, and 1 Hinterland Harbor. We also have, as I mentioned earlier, 1 copy of every basic and 2 forests. The reason for this is the deck actually really is just an Abzan deck that splashes into the other colors to play these walkers, but the moment that you start resolving them, your opponents really have a very difficult time dealing with it. And then lastly, opposing Carnage Tyrants we try to deal with Eldest Reborn, but it also has the added benefit of returning any of our countered or killed walkers back to the field, and returning our own Carnage Tyrant in case we've had to throw it away with either Search for Azcanta or Discovery. So that's pretty much the deck. The only other finishing conditions here is the Expansion Explosion and the Banefire in the sideboard. Negates are actually the only part of the deck that we actually will bring in Game 2 and Game 3. This deck is not really meant to be boarded. It's not meant to be boarded at all. Its sideboard is specifically meant to be a fetch target for Mastermind's acquisition, but you can also pick and pull pieces out to slightly tune it for the second and third games. Obviously, with Control, you're not really going to be wanting to have that many Settle the Wreckage in the deck, so that's when you'll bring in all the negates. You'll bring in Unmoored Ego, you'll bring in the Banefire or the Eldest Reborn, or basically whatever you think you can get away with. So that's pretty much it. Versus Golgari, Golgari Eldest Reborn isn't very good except against their Carnage Tyrants, so more often than not you want Starve Extinction, or trying to have them push past a Pelika Worm, which usually gives you just enough life to get out of range. But you still have to be careful because they do play Vraska's Contempt, and some lists still play Eldest Reborn. Also, if they're on one of the older lists that run Doom Whisperer, that's not really very good to have a 7/7 on the ground because the 6/6 in the air is going to beat you every time. So that's pretty much the list. This is my deck, so I'm going to record a match and show you how I run it. Okay, so queuing up for a match with the deck. Basically, starting hand, we want to see either Gift of Paradise or a way to get to it, such as Discovery, Dispersal, Search for Azcanta. And obviously we want to have a mono to cast it, ideally. So, we'll see where we're at. Okay, so lots of high casting cost stuff in our hand. But we are on the draw, so we'll just see what happens. We have Discovery, Dispersal. We have green mana. So it really comes down to get a basic and Gift of Paradise, jam it on there. Against aggro, we have the Revitalize, so that's pretty good. Karn comes down kind of early, which is also nice. There's the gift, so we're halfway there. Next turn we can Revitalize, so effectively draw 2. Opponent missed a land drop. That's kind of a big deal. So we'll Discovery Dispersal here, see if we can find a basic. Vraska's kind of nice. Another Discovery Dispersal seems like overkill. We want lands coming to our hand. So opponent missing a land drop is kind of a big deal for them. They don't destroy lands typically, so this gift is just going to go through. And we'll put it on the Sulphur Falls. This way, worst comes to it, if they are running some weird list with Field of Ruin, the Sulphur Falls doesn't remove our island and mountain, so our other stuff comes in untapped. We are going to want to hit a board wipe pretty quick, because Golgari really loves to go wide. So, if we draw land here, we might just immediately play Eldest Reborn, but our best draw would be Settle the Wreckage. They certainly would not see it coming, because our mana doesn't look like it's headed in that direction. This is alright. So I think what we'll do here is we'll just get rid of the Wild Growth Walker before he becomes too much of a problem.
Why don't I make that disappear?
Problem for the opponent is going to be that they're mostly going to be geared toward explore creatures. They could contempt here and swing 5. Fine Broker for Wild Growth Walker's fine, because we want to see board wipes anyway. So they're just going to kill the Vraska, hit us for 4, put us at 13. Or not. They're going to hit us for 2.
You'll have to try harder than that.
So here we have a number of different options. I think the best option, though, is going to be... Well, let's see. We could probably Karn here, and then see if we can't find Cleansing Nova.
I will well chosen.
Which we did not. They'll give us the gift and steal our Chemisters. So now we get to pump up our life total with the Revitalize and try to dig for that Cleansing Nova. We really want to find some kind of board wipe for how wide they're going on us. I don't really feel comfortable dropping any of this until we've settled the board state. So I'm guessing they're just going to swing at us for 3, which is kind of greedy because we are in color right now to be playing. Okay, so they're all in. That's fine. Karn can go bye-bye. They did swing that correctly just to make sure I didn't have Assassin's Trophy. Angrath isn't my favorite card here.
I make my own decisions.
I think what we'll do is just start getting rid of some of their stuff, unless he has a Vraska's Contempt, which he does. So we're really just, at this point, trying to bide our time to get to a board wipe. It's taking really much too long at this point to arrive, but it is what it is. So now, at this point, we'll... Let's see, we don't want to do that. We want to play it with this. And you got to be careful with the auto tapper. It loves to use your basics for Gift of Paradise, but if you want to put them on basics, then that becomes a problem. I think here we just pitch out the last card that's in their hand and make them start top decking.
You're no fire, no steel.
Especially if it's Fine Finality. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to get rid of. They didn't have a lot of good targets for it. And again, we're just buying time to get to the board wipe. All of our Planeswalkers are just soaking damage at this point.
You'll burn for that.
We're just having such a bear of a time finding. The board wipe here at this point, 20 cards in with 5 board wipes. Should have seen 1 by now, but... Destroy their biggest creature, and they have to cast out whatever's in their hand. Okay, Choops.
Ooh, let's see what we got.
Okay, so as much as I hate to admit it, the Contempt isn't as good as being able to drop a land and do another Eldest Reborn. Takes them off killing Ral. And then we start returning our stuff this coming turn.
come on. Breathe through it.
So here we get to return some stuff. So the first thing that we're going to return is going to be... Let's see. We're actually going to return the Karn, because returning the Karn allows us
Our
to
actions
take him down
determine the course of decisive action
and get the
needed.
Chemist's Insight. Tick up the RAL, try and find that board wipe.
Choose wisely, because the other one's going bye-bye.
Drown Catacomb, which is fine because we're going to use it to play our Chemist's Insight. 2 more lands. So let's do it again. Pitching the mountain. So we have an Assassin's Trophy. That's pretty reasonable. Fine Broker kind of sucks here because we don't really want them getting any stuff back. It's kind of weird. Most lists I've seen don't really run multiple Fine Brokers. They usually just run the one. But I have seen the ones that do run 2. Just as annoying. Whatever Planeswalker they kill here returns off of Eldest Reborn. So it's kind of bad form. But we'll go ahead and save Karn.
Your efforts are
Lucky
futile.
shot.
Okay, so go back into our graveyard, pull the RAL back.
I've flown on Gale. Well, let's see what the wind blows in.
Good choice.
So we're definitely getting the land there. No way is anybody giving me a Teferi. Play the Carnage Tyrant and pass the turn. Carnage Tyrant is basically functioning as a wall 99% of the time that I play him. He's just really there to block off the attackers from my walkers. So opponents decided to come at me, which is totally fine. So now we go hunting.
Oh, come on. I just want to peek.
Still
the weight is
can't
killing
seem
me.
to find it.
Return.
So we'll end up playing the Teferi to try and find it.
We need to move quickly.
And that's still a hard no. So we will Gift of Paradise onto untapped land. Funny thing about this is that when Teferi untaps, he's untapping effectively 4 lands with Gift on it. So opponent can't kill us here unless they top deck the Detection Tower. We are taking a boatload of damage, but since he's abandoned the plan of getting rid of our walkers, it's really just find a board wipe and go to town. So we'll swing here and then hit the Nova. I'd be surprised if the opponent doesn't scoop this.
No time for a break.
Even if the opponent
The
tops
search
Carnage
for the
Tyrant,
unknown.
yeah, there we go.
That's real science.
So that's basically, that was picture perfect. That's exactly where we wanted to be. Game 2, we really want another Cleansing Nova, down 1 Settle the Wreckage. The Revitalize is still pretty relevant, so we don't run to throw that out, even though that is normally the first thing that we side out of the match. And then the other thing that we're looking for is we really want to have either Star of Extinction or Negate, one or the other. Star of Extinction is really good because you get rid of Memorial to Folly and wipe their board, including Vivian's and Verasca's, so that's usually pretty good. And then typically a couple of Negates are kind of relevant as well. That match was super weird. I'm going to take out the Revitalizes. Actually, I'm going to leave one of them in and take out the Karn. Karn wasn't as good as we would hope. But we're really looking for those board wedge a lot earlier than we saw them. It's amazing that we held on so long. So this is really good. 2 Discovery Dispersal, all but guarantees the Gift of Paradise ends up on a basic. We have to rush to get to the board wipe on this. So opponent has an annoying tendency when they're on any black X deck to bring in Duresses against this deck. It's not as good as they think it is, except when it is. That's really the best way I can put it. Like, there are some matches where, just depending on the hand I had, the Duress just really kills me. And then there's others where it's totally irrelevant. So, we'll play the Discovery Dispersal here, see if we can find a basic. Or a board wipe, or both. In this case, we basically ostensibly find both. The Mastermind's Acquisition can let us get one of the board wipes out of the side if we need to. I'm not a huge fan of this Teferi, but we'll play the Gift of Paradise here. Opponent missed a land drop. That's actually really relevant, because if we hit our land drop on the next turn, we can play Teferi or Ral. And opponent not having anything going. Let's see here. So Assassin's Trophy on the land is fine. We're still going to be able to search up here. I think where we want to be is plains. So we'll play Discovery Dispersal. That Assassin's Trophy was actually pretty good. We'll throw away our own Carnage Tyrant here and leave the Gift of Paradise. We're now missing our land drop, but they've missed 2 in a row now. So we're still ahead, even though this is like, you know, kind of, we're both a little bit crippled here. So, beat them in that race. Yeah. As much as I want to play Gift of Paradise here, right here what we really want to do is take down Verasca and force them to keep
Your
coming up with
demise
answers
won't have you want it
with their
gone.
2 mana problem.
Consider it done.
If they answer it right away, bummer, but here we just win. So that's basically the run of the deck. Giving it another go. See where we end up. Alrighty, so Playing with my walkers. I don't love this hand, mostly because I'm not digging with anything and I have no Gift of Paradise. But on the draw, we'll try it. So, next turn we have Assassin's Trophy and Revitalize. If this is mono green, I'm less nervous. Okay, so mono green. Does mean that opponent's going to be very, very soft to removal and not come back very well from board wipes. Yeah. Start digging for the board wipe early, because opponent's going to start hitting hard with those Pelt Collectors. We're going to want to find ourselves a way to settle the wreckage as quickly as possible, or Cleansing Nova. They are pretty all in right now, so they're not going to recover well from any kind of board wipes. So see what they drop. The thing that sucks here is we kind of have to naturally get into the board wipe. We don't have any way to dig for it or look for it. We have a remote chance that we can cast Ethereum to dig one deeper, but this is going to get out of control fast if we don't hit something. Vraska's Contempt would be ideal in lieu of a board wipe. The opponent's so wide they can kill us on the next turn at this point. Revitalize is really subpar here. The only hope we have is that we gain the 3 and then draw an Assassin's Trophy. So that's what we're gonna try for. Okay, another Ral, so yeah, it's board wipe or bust here. And instead we found Gift of Paradise. Well, no need to show them what we're doing. We'll just scoop here and move on to the next one. Now that we have a better idea, we can come better prepared. There's not really a whole lot to do here except bring in the Golden Demise, just to add in another layer of removal. I don't really think anything else is really necessary. I don't like Karn in this matchup. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. So I'll remove the Karn and down one Revitalize in favor of another Cleansing Nova. 7 board wipes might seem excessive, but when you're up against a deck that can kill you in like 4 or 5 turns, it's kind of necessary. Those Pelt Collectors just grow out of size so quickly, and removing, like, with that Assassin's Trophy, if I use the Assassin's Trophy on the Glow Spore Shaman, the Pelt Collector just gets bigger. So, you know, I end up basically at the same amount of damage without having to worry about the Pelt Collector growing anything. So we're kind of in the same boat on this one. But this time, we're more inclined to not take a hand that doesn't have some kind of interaction with the opponent, some kind of removal, or a really, really good way to build to it quickly. It's really hard to turn down a hand that is basically all of our colors, including the double white that we need for Settle. So we're going to try it. And opponent mulls again. And there's the Nova, so hopefully we get to hold on to it. They didn't bring in Duress for this match. missed the land drop and we just got rewarded with double board wipes here, and we get to cast Chemist's Insight on the next turn. So I'm feeling pretty good about our chances here, especially if they continue to miss land drops or make mistakes here, overcommitting their board state like they did in the last game. Opponent threw away 2 Glowspore Shamans and an Assassin's Trophy. That's really pretty good for us, honestly. I mean, sure, we're going to take some damage here, but we get to draw 2, wipe their board. They have this entire turn to overcommit themselves. This does not answer their problem. They're going to take the Nova for sure. They take Settle. That's a weird choice, because they know we have the mana for Nova on the next turn anyway, so that's a super, super weird choice. But we'll take 4, that's fine. Unless they have another freebooter to take them both. Okay, they don't, so we're just gonna draw a couple cards, drop this land, and over their board. So, I have Gruesome Menagerie too, that's interesting. Funny enough, they threw away the Plague Crafter, most likely because they weren't aware of the fact that we're running we're running all these Planeswalkers. If they had known that, they probably wouldn't have done it. I think we'll Discovery Dispersal here, and then I'd rather they steal Ral than Teferi, so we'll have them see that if they get a peek. And then I think I'm fine taking 5 here, knowing full well that I'm going to either settle them or... Now, here's another situation where casting Teferi is super ideal. So we get to untap
Trust
the
me.
Paradise
Hold
land.
that thought.
Another thing to keep in mind here is that if they go swinging with just these 2, we settle those, and then Eldest Reborn is pretty good. There's a couple of different ways that we can play this, but they only have 1 card in hand, so they have to be cautious here. They know we have Settle. So, there goes a Gruesome Menagerie. So now they're going to go ahead and get rid of the Teferi, take the Settle. Swinging in for 11.
Time for Plan B.
So this was a really, really good turn for them, for sure. So now we're on hitting that Cleansing Nova again. down to 2. So, what we'll do here is very cautiously tap our mana. Play Veraska. Destroy the
I'm good at
Kitesail.
what I do. And what can I say? Death is cheap.
And then play this tapped. Next turn, if they decide not to swing into the Settle the Wreckage, we Mastermind's Acquisition to get a Cleansing Nova, and then we wipe the board anyway. So we're going to do it no matter what. We do it like they're expecting us to do it. And then hopefully they cast out the last card in their hand, so this way we just go ahead and wipe their board. And then we can finally start breathing a little bit. So...
Being ruthless has its rewards.
So again, we have to be very studious about how we tap our mana. And they scoop. I feel like that was pretty much exactly what we wanted to have happen. Thing is, I also didn't see a lot of removal on their side, so I think maybe bringing in Lyra is actually pretty good. I think we can actually afford to go down a Settle the Wreckage for that. So we will, and run it back. The biggest part of the problem is that if they're letting us get into a later game with them, our top decks are going to outdo theirs by a wide margin. This is fine because we have the Mastermind's Acquisition to go and hunt up Cleansing Novas or Gift of Paradise if we need to. I don't like waiting till turn 4 at all. Especially not with them going first, but we just kind of have to... This is one of those hands you don't really throw away. Opponent seems so content to miss land drops, which is really weird. Keeping one-landers like that is just super greedy. Especially because next turn we're going to gift up, which means that we will have access to Cleansing Nova really far ahead of time. Like a turn sooner than they anticipate, and double Cleansing Nova means next to nothing unless they have double Kitesail. So they took the gift to keep us off white, which was a way smarter play. So now we're gonna have to kind of finagle this, otherwise they're gonna outclass us pretty quickly. Taking 6 here really sucks, but it is what it is. Hopefully we can find a way to get into white mana, and I think the easiest way to do that is probably going to just be Masterminds for gift, but that's going to mean it's going to take us 3 turns before we cast it. That's a little too long to wait. Might be better to just get Golden Demise, that would probably undo them pretty easily. Also, off the top, Golden Demise is just, this is the board wipe, so... Fun figuring out how they want to swing. We'll go ahead and do exactly what we said we'd do. We'll go and get the Golden Demise. We're going to take some damage, but I think we're better off this way. Alternatively, we probably could have grabbed an untapped white source, but this is fine too. So we'll play the Hinterland Harbor and then Golden Demise. Get back Gift of Paradise. Now we can run out Gift of Paradise on the island. Puts us back to 8. Revitalize will put us back to 11. And then we're pretty live for the next couple turns. I think the opponent's gonna have a very difficult time dealing with this. So there's a settle. There's an overgrown tomb. I think what we'll do here is we'll take the damage and drop the Carnage Tyrant. They're nowhere near the mana they would need for Elvis Reborn. Plague Crafter, that was unexpected. I guess I probably should have expected it, really. Okay, so play Veraska, and we'll tick down,
I will be
which
the
gives
one.
us the
I'm
treasure
sorry. Were you
to
using
play
that?
Assassin's Trophy if we need to. And we'll just put this tapped and pass the turn. Thing is that they're going to have multiple instances of Plague Crafters or Gruesome Menagerie here. Okay, so that's good for them for sure. That makes us sack this Veraska on top of everything else, but everything they're returning is going to get board wiped by the Cleansing Nova on the next turn. So it really seems like a bad choice. Has a boatload of triggers to resolve, which is awesome for him, but if he puts a land on top, it really deadens his draws, which he didn't, so.
I've suffered worse.
So we'll go ahead and throw down a land and Nova the board. Going to Menagerie again. And I don't even think we give our opponent a look at what we've got going on here. Well, they would get the look, so we're still gonna pop him regardless. This is interesting. So I think what we'll do here is we will play Angrath. Steal his Midnight Reaper.
Your crew for my freedom? A fair price.
And then we'll Nova the board state. This way the only one who's drawing is me. That's annoying, but...
That tickled.
So, best top deck opponent could have is Kite Sail. Because that just wins the game.
Just want to peek. The weight is killing me.
Man, opponent with these Plague Crafters is ridiculous.
I've been through worse.
Okay, so opponent has to basically cast out every single thing that comes into their hand. In this case, a land. I think we just dominate from here. Now we just get to start dropping multiple things a turn, and I don't see how they get out of this. So we'll Discovery Dispersal here. See what's coming up in store here. Throw away that. Keep that. Grab that. Play it to the Dragon Skull Summit. That puts us to 11. We can contempt anything he drops. So, opponent's just taking too much. Sees us settle the wreckage, he probably scoops here. Can't imagine what world where he'd want to keep going with this. But we'll get back the Carnage Tower and try to close this game out now. Yeah, at this point it's pretty pedestrian. And there we go.
I am not going to sit this one out.
pretty solid run there. Pretty solid run.